What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another review this with the Scene Snobs. I am joined today by the scary snob himself, well, one half of him anyway, Jason from the Three Geeks podcast. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm so glad you asked me to be a part of this because I can't wait to talk to somebody.
I knew you were going to see it quick. I know how big of a Scream fan you are. Let's see the cups again. Let's see them. I got to see them.
It's the cup. Yeah, cup.
Oh my God. Oh, that's crazy. And I knew going out to see this same day. So as soon as, because you messaged me once you got out about this, and I was like, well, let's see what happens. Let's get in on this. Let's talk about it. So for everybody watching, so you guys know, our reviews are both spoiler and non-spoiler. We start with the non, of course. We're going to talk about the movie. We're going to rate it, and then we'll get into more of the spoilers. But we will give you that cutoff. So if you haven't seen the movie, you can check out the full review, get our ranking, come back later and check out the full spoiler review, and we'll really get into it. And we want to know what you think. So sound off in the comments. Let us know how you felt about the movie, how you rank it, the whole nine. All right. So here it is, our review of Scream 6. It's finally here. It's been revived last year to big time. This franchise seems to have jumped back into things. Jason, before we get really into it and how you felt, how excited were you for this movie after seeing Scream 5?
So Scream 5, when I first saw it, I wouldn't say I didn't like it, but I wasn't the biggest fan. That movie grew on me, and I ended up really liking it. I really like it now. But dude, I can't tell you, my excitement level was way higher than it had any business being. It's like my excitement level for this movie was what everybody felt going into Star Wars Episode 7. Like, that's where I was. Like, psyched. Okay.
I was definitely not on that same level with it. I did really like 5 when I saw it in theaters, and it kind of, to do something very similar to what the other 4 have done, but reinvent it in a way that I think really worked with its this cast of characters and kind of tying it back to the originals. It was well done. And when they announced they were going to New York City, I was like, all right, it's been done before. We've seen a lot of this. How's it going to be? So before we get into that, what did you think when they announced where it was going to take place? And what did you think of the setting overall?
Something new, something exciting. One of my issues with Scream 5 was that it felt like 2 movies. It felt like they were trying to make a Wes Craven movie and they were trying to do something different. And I'm like, okay, they're going to New York. They can make their movie. And I was really excited about that. I'm like, new location. It's a big city. Let's see what happens. Because, yeah, we've gone to New York before. It didn't work so well. So I was really hoping Scream would make it work for us.
Yeah, this is, and of course they tried this with the original series as well. They went to Los Angeles with the Hollywood angle of the third movie. A lot of people didn't think that really worked, taking it out of its element. How did you feel after seeing it, how they took it, sort of in that direction?
Oh, I'm so glad we went to New York. I'm so glad. Like, I think it worked really well for this movie and what they were trying to do.
I got to tell you, I was definitely, I don't know if excited is the right word, but I was definitely intrigued that they were going to take it to New York. We've seen a lot of horror movies sort of fail at taking place in New York City, especially outside of the 80s. I feel like the 80s were like the heyday for horror in New York. Jason Takes Manhattan, of course, not one of those in my opinion, considering it took place on a boat 90% of it. But, this movie, bringing Ghostface in, setting it during Halloween, I like that element to it. What were some of the things about this movie, story-wise, that really intrigued you?
The opening. I thought the opening was great. This movie is a lot like a coin. Like, you think you're going for heads, and then you get a tails instead. And the opening really, really stands out because it was different, but similar, if that makes any sense at all to people watching. That's the best way to describe it. Like, I heard that from people, and I'm like, it can't be different and similar. It can, and they did it, and they did a very good job with that opening sequence. I even like the fact.
Don't say any names. We're going to keep that for the spoilers.
Oh yeah, no names.
Yeah, I don't want to give that up.
But I did like that. Jason Takes Manhattan was on the TV.
Yes, that's one. Yeah, the homages and stuff, for sure. They were all over the place. I mean, they always have been in the Scream movies. This one seemed to feel a little more coded in it. And I didn't hate that, because again, it's always been a horror movie about horror movies and what they're going to do next. So to show that element of it, say, hey, listen, we are not the first ones to enter the New York space here. We're just trying to do another good one in it. And I'm glad that they took the time to show Jason Takes Manhattan. I will say this, again, we'll get into it in the spoiler side of who was in the movie and what sort of happened. But they did get a Scream Queen, in my opinion, a newer age Scream Queen to be that first opening victim, if you will. And I really dug that. And I really dug how they did it because it kind of turned it on its head a little bit. Yeah, the opening of this movie definitely, I overall, and I know I have a feeling we're going to disagree on a few things here. Overall, I think was probably my favorite part. So
Yeah, that's up there.
But I walked out of this movie. I didn't love it. It didn't have the same, I didn't have the same feeling when I walked out of 5. Or, even 4, Scream is no stranger to disappointment in a way. Like you walk, after that first one, we knew it's all downhill from there. But now we're on 6 and we're getting 7 next year. And I walked out of this one and I was like, I really just wish it had done things that it promised it was going to more clearly. Like it was almost like, hey, we promise you this is going to be this. And it was, but it wasn't what they were alluding to, if that makes sense. When we get to the spoilers, we'll get into it more. But for you, walking in, not really having an idea of what was going to happen, where we were going to go with it, how did you feel coming out of it?
Oh man, I was hyped. Spoiler, I really love this movie. It's when I left 5, I was disappointed. And this one, because 5 felt like a rehash of everything we had seen before. And this felt a lot more fresh than we'd seen so far. So, man, I left hyped. I think I texted you, like you said, you want to come join me on the review? I think I texted you yes, 37 times. Dude, yeah, I was hyped. Yeah. I'm glad I was, though, because my expectations were so high.
Yeah, man. And Marvel Spaceman's here. Marvel, what's going on, man? I'm seeing Scream 6 tomorrow at 7 p.m. I watched all the Scream movies for the past 2 weeks. How does Scream 6 compare from the other Scream movies? We're going to do a ranking. We're going to do a ranking, then we can rank the movies in order of, what we really liked about them. A couple more things I want to touch down on. What did you think with this cast coming in? There's a few new faces join in. Of course, there has to be some red herrings in there. How did you feel everybody came together again, and how do you feel they did going up against Ghostface in this?
Well, anytime that you have a cast, especially all in a different city, the question is, okay, what's the plausible explanation for that? And I thought they handled that pretty well. It makes sense that they would all stick together in life after their big situation that happened. And all the new characters I enjoyed too, quite a bit. Parts were predictable, and we'll get into that on the spoiler side of things. But no, overall, the cast was great. I really like the new characters, and I like the new rules that they laid down.
Yeah, the new rule's good. I do like that they added that lineage of Randy's niece kind of taking over, explaining the rules, and playing that part to it. I have to tell you, this movie feels like it's Scream 2 and Scream 3 kind of put together. In big ways, and kind of how it plays out, the connection to the last movie, and all of the other Scream movies for that matter. They're in college. My only thing was it was believable in 2 that Randy followed Sydney, because they were literally the last 2 survivors from that high school in that group, and Randy was in love with her, so he was, of course, was going to follow her there. And then they added a whole bunch of new ones. I don't know that I get why the sisters would be there. I get why everybody would want to leave Woodsboro, but I don't know that I would get that all four of them would go to the same place.
We'll talk about it in the spoiler side because it makes sense to me, and I can explain why when we get to the other side.
And listen, as a sequel where you want to pull everybody together, it is a loose type of pulling together, but I can still accept it. I can suspend disbelief and say they're all going to be together. That's fine. It was just one of those things where I was like, I don't know how believable that is, but I can accept it. You know, one of those things. But whereas I really liked how in the fifth one, Sam's character is not there. So attack her sister to make sure she comes back.
Mm-hmm.
I almost would have preferred the three of them all went to college, you know, because they were twins and what's her name, Tara, played by Jenna Ortega in the movie, go off, who, in my opinion, is a scream queen in her own right now of the new age. Stepping in and going to college in New York, wanting to get as far away as possible. I thought it would almost been cool if Sam wasn't there to protect Sarah. She thought being far away from her again would be it. They start happening. She shows up. Now there's the red herring. Because we follow Sam throughout, and we know she's not. And I don't feel like that's a big spoiler because we kind of get that same feeling from the fifth one. But what could happen, you know? It almost feels like a Jamie from Halloween 4. Like, oh, is she going to turn out like her uncle sort of thing? So, yeah, I mean, you know, pulling them together, I thought it could have been done a little bit better to bring Sam back in. But again, overall, for a horror movie, it's not out of the question. It definitely can suspend disbelief on it. But I know we want to get into our spoiler side of things, and everybody's probably looking forward to our ranking. So, what did you give this movie? 5 out of 5.
4.5 out of 5. That might go higher, it might go lower on future viewings, but right now my initial reaction is 4.5.
All right, and mine is a 3 out of 5. I did not love the movie. I walked out of that. I think I was really looking forward to it being something different, and it was the way it was kind of looking like. I love the aesthetic. They did a great job. They went whole hog with the gruesome, and I think they can thank Halloween for kind of opening that door for them on this mainstream horror movie franchise going more gory and people accepting it. I think that's what really worked. And I liked all of those things. I like the characters. I'm not huge on the Sam character. Does that make sense? She's probably the one I'm the least like, All right. Gail felt a little shoehorned in there, personally. Yeah, she happens to be living in the same exact city as them.
I mean, New York is. I mean, it's realistic that she'd be in New York or California, but no, I totally feel like her character was shoehorned into the movie. She did not need to be there at all.
Yeah. And before we get into the spoiler side of it, what are some things that maybe you didn't really like about the movie? 4 out of 5, probably not many.
I mean, I'm disappointed that I predicted the killer and why about halfway through. It kind of clicked with me. That's a disappointment. I heard somebody else say this. It felt like they couldn't commit to certain kills. Like there's characters that get stabbed and then they're fine. Like in the next scene, like perfectly fine. It's like commit to the deaths. But those are my big two ones. My big two, because there's 2 characters that I thought were gone and they weren't. So
yeah, that irks me a little bit too. Because one thing with Dewey, and I call it the Dewey effect, because one thing about Dewey in the first 2 movies, where he got brutally slaughtered, basically, but was okay. I was like, fine, I'll accept it because it's Dewey. And he is just a lovable idiot type character. But to me, they made up for it in Scream 5, where it was like, nope, he's gone. He's done. He's not coming back. But I didn't want to see that trope return with any other characters. And that's the funny thing. It returned with like 3 or 4 different characters. And you're like that's not something that like, first of all, you have to have a lovable goofball idiot to survive. Cause that's where everybody's like, yeah, he's like, you can't kill a puppy. You know,
If
like
you're gonna do it once. You don't need to do it 3 times. Like the one at the end that we find out, that one made most sense to me. Like everybody else should have committed one way or the other.
I just felt like it wasn't enough high stakes. Now there were some high stakes, everybody, and I'm not saying that there weren't some big deaths in this movie. There definitely were. I just felt like it could have been higher stakes for a Scream movie, especially considering you introduce it's like got a high kill count in it, and you've introduced such a new, all this new people, these new characters into it, and that's your high stakes, really, is what it comes down to. But we're going to get into the spoiler side of it now. So everybody, if you're going to check out this movie this weekend, or you have, make sure to, and you don't mind the spoilers, keep going with this. If not, come back and make sure you sound off in the comments because I want to hear what you guys think. Join up on our Discord, check it out. Make sure to check out also later tonight the Scary Snobs with Aaron and Jay here. They hosted. It will be on at 10 p.m. coming up after this. But yeah, go have a good time with that. Talk some horror. But yeah, dude, let's get into the spoilers. I'm excited. I want to hear what you have to say. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Spoiler alert. Don't go any further if you don't want to know. All right. I got to tell you, the flim flam of Kirby, Gail, the sister, and the brother all getting stabbed and hard, like they were murdered, and they all came back. They all bounced back from life, and I was like, and you knew Jenna Ortega's not going anywhere. As soon as I heard 7 was announced, I'm like, well, Jenna Ortega's not dying. She's the biggest star in this right now. And then, like the sister, she's the big pull right now. I thought it would actually been better if they killed her off and kept Jenna Ortega as the protagonist going forward. What do you think?
I think they have plans for Sam going forward because they're definitely alluding to a certain storyline that I think they're going to play out. They even hinted to it with the Gale phone call. Yeah. But see, for me, Kirby, I didn't think Kirby was that bad. But yes, the brother and sister, they should no longer be in this franchise. They should both be out for the count. And Gale should be too. I kind of get why you don't kill Gale, because you don't want to be that franchise that just kills, kind of like Star Wars did. You kill a main character in each movie. Fine. Then don't put her in that situation where she's almost dead. Make a choice. Commit to the choice. And I mean that.
Oh, sorry, bud.
I was just going to say that's pretty much my negative is just commit.
And I'm going to put up a banner here for you guys so you know. We are definitely doing spoilers right now. So if you haven't seen Scream 6 yet, be aware. All right, this is the spoiler section. The first half of it is non-spoiler, but I did see some people join up. So I want to put up a little thing here so that way they know what's going on. All right, so I agree with you. I agree with you to an extent. I do think you can kill Gale because you moved on to a new cast. You introduced all these new people. You've already taken out Dewey. It kind of seemed like it was nice that she was sad about Dewey in certain points when they would talk about her or say low blow or whatever. The fact that she wrote another book, which is, and you're supposed to chalk it up to, that's just another Gale thing to do. And it's like, I mean,
that is another Gale thing to do. It's such a Gale thing to do,
but not to Dewey, not he got brutally murdered. I felt like Gale should have been in a different place. Almost kind of like where Dewey was at in the 5th one, like kind of just down and out. Not have another boyfriend who's just there to get killed. And mind you, a big brooding boyfriend. He was huge. And you're going to tell me one of those two little kids killed him? And threw him through shelves.
Hey, Amber killed Dewey in 5.
Oh, God. Yeah, even the killers in this, I was just so unimpressed. I predicted it right off the bat. As soon as you meet Dylan McDermott or whatever his name is, who I like him as an actor. He was on New Girl and plenty of movies and stuff like that. Who I was like, I enjoy this guy's presence, but for me, I was like, hey, just him and his kids doing it, and they are the family of Dennis Quaid's kid's character, Jack Quaid's character from the 5th one.
I liked that aspect of it. But as soon as she said, my brother died, I'm like, okay, it's either Richie or Will. I think Wes was his name. I'm like, it's one of those two characters. This is the dad of one of those characters. And then as it went further, I'm like, is this Richie's dad? They're going to tie it. I'd liked the tie. I liked the end reveal, but I knew it was coming. From the second I didn't know dude was going to be her brother, but I knew that she was involved because we never saw her get killed. Like, we didn't see that sequence. And the fact that we didn't see it, like we saw Billy get quote unquote killed in Scream 1. So it was a lot more easier to buy. But in this one, the camera went away. Like, even Ghostface stepped out of frame because that guy was watching him.
Well, I will tell you, it threw me off. I knew there was at least two killers. There's always two killers. There always is. And that's when I go into these movies, I know there's going to be always at least two. And when she said, oh, my dad moved here after my brother died, I said, he's the father of Jack Quaid. Like, it immediately almost popped in my head. I was like, he is the father because the phone is calling him. So here's the phone. Who is Jack Quaid's character from I can't remember, Richie, right? Richie from the fifth one is calling Sam. How do you get that phone out of evidence? Most likely suspect is a cop. And now, granted, they threw Kirby in there, but I pegged that as a red herring. And as soon as you meet him, I'm like, they're both the killers. I did not know about the brother, but I thought there might be somebody else because when he was in the park with them, and then you cut to Gale, I was like, yeah, it could be him. It would make more sense if it was him, but it has to be somebody else. But when I saw those two kids unmasked, I'm like, there's no way. I don't even care if you get the jump on them that you're killing Gale's boyfriend. I did not believe it. And again, throwing him like 5 feet through a shelving unit. I was like, no. I was like, that dude's as big as I am. Like, not fat, but he's stacked, man. I was like, nah, he's going to get killed. He's not going to get killed by these kids. But that's always been sort of my issue with this. Like, all the adults seem to get killed by teenagers, and it's weird.
It is weird because in the last two movies, Ghostface has been so much stronger, but like 3 of the 4 killers or 3 of the 5 killers are like smaller people. Amber and then the brother and sister. They're not huge people, but they're super strength. And if you go back to the Scream movies prior, they're a lot more, seasoned people that have been alive for at least a minute, except for maybe Mickey. But and then Billy and Stu were just legitimately crazy. I like the reveal. I liked Kirby being back. Kirby is the only thing you needed from the other franchise. Gale didn't need to be there. Let Gale sit out too. Let Kirby come in. It makes sense that Kirby would become a cop because you usually either become crazy or extremely depressed, or you become a cop or an FBI agent. And I like Kirby being involved, but I do like that radio silence is at least giving us hints, like clues to try to solve it ourselves. But find a medium, because I know Wes didn't give us a lot of clues in the previous movies, but find a good common ground, because 2 movies in a row, I've solved at least, half to 3/4 of your killing squad.
Well, that's the thing, and I will give it to Wes Craven. He always did leave clues, very subtle clues. And if you go back, and anybody who goes back and looks at any Scream movies, you can figure out who the killers are right off the bat with certain things they say, certain things that you see. But he was also really good at creating red herrings, not just putting people there, but like in Scream 1, when he steps down from the toilet, he's got the boots on. And then you see the boots stomping out a cigarette, and it's the sheriff. And it's like, that's a great way to set up that's a very Hitchcockian way to set up a red herring. And he did that beautifully in those movies. They don't do it so much without him. And I just, it just kind of pulls me out of it a little bit. It just seems like, let's introduce these people, and then like you figure it out. You'll figure out who it is and how it connects. And it's like, okay, but not really. Like, that's not how it's supposed to work. And I'm sort of done with the revenge. This was 2 and 3 all together, both combined, with the fact that they're the family of Richie. It's a father figure, kind of like Billy's mother was there. as soon as like they were leaving masks, and they're like, "Oh, this is the mask from this murders and these murders," and it's like, all right, I see where this is going. They're gonna red herring Stu. Oh, is Stu gonna come back? They even called it out.
They did. They're having fun with the Stu clues. They did in 5, and they did in this one, and we'll find out. But oh my god! But this is my own expectation. I brought my own baggage in with this movie. I really wanted it to end with some form of a cliffhanger, because I knew that there was going to be a post-credit scene. I'm like, oh, right, we're going to find out that, you know, somebody else was involved in the last few movies. And then we didn't get that.
I almost would have preferred that the killers not be related. They are just fanatics like Richie was, and the father like incorporated them into his plan to try and kill him, not because he cared about him or anything. Like you can tell he was doing that with the other two kids. And you know, let's go to the beginning of the movie where Samara Weaving was. First of all, Samara Weaving, who again, like my opinion, is like a new age scream queen. She is in a ton of great horror movies that are coming out, and she seems to love the genre, and I love that. You know, and I think she's terrific in them. I mean, I could say a lot of different things, but like, you're a college professor and you're just who lives in New York City, and you just happen to decide, like, yeah, I'll walk down this alley to find you. Like, I am in that much of a need of a date. You're Samara Weaving, if nothing else, as beautiful as you are. You don't have to walk down a dark alley to see if a guy is looking for you. Like, it was just kind of flimsy. It was like, really? Like, I'm 6'8", 500 pounds. I'm not walking down that alley. You are?
I'm not either, but I was along for the ride. I was like, oh no.
I was like, yeah, and I mean, as soon as he says, I don't see anything red, I'm like, that's coming back. I was like, that's coming back. Oh no, I see something red. I do like how they kind of flipped on his head, and like you see that the kid from Spider-Man, I can't remember his name. You know, forgive me for, you know, I just forgot his name. He played Flash in the new Spider-Man movies. He steps up. I was like, okay, that's cool. How's he incorporated in this? And then when he gets home, it's kind of, again, that kind of throw you off the trail sort of thing. With this, I almost would have preferred if it was more like a Judgment Night sort of thing. And that's the feel I was kind of getting with the convenience store. And he grabs the shotgun. Like, what was his plan? Like, he needs them alive. He had a whole plan to put all these masks out. What if you shot them? Like, he was trying to murder them. Am I wrong?
I think he was trying to scare them, because he could have fired at that aisle quite a few times through the thing.
Yeah, but he didn't know where he didn't know where they were. Like, that's the you could have, but it seemed really odd, because like he really went after it. Like, if that's the case, as soon as they got into the convenience store, why go in? You've chased them. Now you're there. But he walks in and murders like 4 people, and then like can't find them, and then all of a sudden runs away. Like, it just seems like, I was like, this could have been a really in your face sort of thing. It would have been really cool if they killed one of the sisters off at that moment. But that's the thing, like, that's the horror that Scream doesn't seem to want to push. That's like that envelope that they don't seem to want to push every time, where it's like, kill off some of these characters and we'll really start feeling that dread every time they come up against something. But after a movie like this, you walk out of it and you're like, okay, everybody's alive, great.
I wish one of the 4 had died. Like, to be honest, I'm glad that I think I kind of know where they're going with the 2 sisters, Tara and Sam, in the next movie. They kind of hinted to it a lot, so we'll see. But
we're spoilers. Go for it.
I mean, obviously they played up the whole. I figured you'd go crazy, Gail, and you know, be the next person to be the serial killer or something along those lines. And obviously they're putting that path for Sam. I don't want to see that, because it's kind of predictable, but I wish that this movie had connected more to the past a little bit, just a little bit, because I don't know where you go from now.
You did look around that room, right?
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, there's nothing left for an 8th movie. We even wrapped up 5's plot line. The whole family's. I mean, there's a mom, but the whole family's dead.
That would be good if they kill off the mom and get them back to Woodsboro. I think that would be really good. And like it would be, but again, it would be good if they push the envelope and it's Sam that maybe kills the mom. Now she's the killer, but they both come back, or whatever it is. Like, or she has somebody that she's a cohort with. I don't know. I mean, it could be anything, but you got to change it up. This has to be changed up. Like, that's why a lot of people didn't like 4 because it's the same formula. But I'm like, but they did change it up at the time because it was a little different.
I feel like this was different.
I feel like, weirdly enough, where 5 was very much an homage to the first one, I felt like that had more differences in it than this. Because at least, like, you're being similar to the best one in the series, in my opinion. But when you get down to the 5th one, when you get down to the 6th one, you're paying homage to 2 and 3. Like I didn't love it. I was like, I don't love who you picked as the killers. Derpy says, how was the mid acting, especially Jenna, overrated Ortega? I disagree. I thought she was probably the highlight of this movie.
The acting is pretty strong, especially between Sam and Tara. See, Jenna Ortega, man, I love Jenna Ortega. I absolutely love Jenna Ortega. I think she's worth every bit of hype that she's getting right now.
I do too. I think she's really good. She was really good as Wednesday, and like saying she's overrated, Derpy, I got to disagree with you because I've seen her in so many different things, and she does a different character in it. And I love that she's not the star of the movie in this. She's not the final girl. And I get that she's probably going to end up being because she's the biggest star in the movie. Especially as of right now. So going into it, I expected to see more of her, especially after the year she had, and I'm glad I did because she had very strong acting. Hayden Panettiere, not the strongest actor in this. Kirby's character was still kind of silly. Actually, even more so. Now she's an FBI agent, so you're kind of like, what? Like, what is happening here?
I thought that made sense to me.
I guess so. You're a victim of, these heinous crimes, and so you turn around and you try to solve them yourself. So I can see it, but if that's the case, why Atlanta? Is that just where you were? Like, I don't know. There's so many questions. I just felt like that was kind of shoehorned. Like, okay, she's an FBI agent. That's why she's here. The cop, because now you have 2 cops that are red herrings. And one has a personal connection, and then you find out the other one has a personal connection also. I don't know.
Hey, this is the fun of filmmaking, man, is 2 people can see the same movie and have such a differing opinions. I love that. And this movie stated one of my things that I've been saying for years, that Psycho 2 is a highly underrated horror sequel. I like cheered when I heard them say that. I'm like, yes, it is.
That's very fair. Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, it is fun that people can have 2 different opinions, because there's some, like, I know a guy who hates the Scream movies, and he saw this and he texted me and he goes, man, I give it like a B+. I really enjoyed this. It's great. And I was like, yeah. I was like, would I watch it again? Sure. I mean, just like I watch all the other ones. But I just didn't love it. And the fact that they're film students killed me even more. I was like, come on, man, seriously.
I don't think this is the most different of the film franchise. I actually think Scream 3 is probably the most different out of all of them because it has haunting elements with Sydney's mother that the other ones don't have.
I beg to differ. Billy Loomis.
Yes, and he was used so much better in this film than he was in 5.
It's just like, how do you, and I'm going to get Haunted Autumn. I'm going to get to your quote in your comment in just a second. I just like, for me though, it's like, she's never met him. She's never met him. Like, she only knows what he looks like through pictures and, hearing stories of what he's done from her mother, who was just, for lack of a better term, somebody he cheated on his girlfriend with, another high school student. I was going to say side piece, but I don't want to say that.
Probably one of the bathroom girls is my theory.
Oh, that'd be fun. I'm meeting both of them. That's all I ask. I'm like, are you one of them? So going into it and talking about the Billy Loomis portion of it, it's too much like Billy. Like, at least change it up so that way it feels like it's her inner psyche. You know, like, okay, I understand he's the representative of like her killing mode or whatever they're going towards. But really, like, I feel like you could have. I don't mind you incorporating them, but I feel like it could have been done better. And I do agree, it was done better in this movie than it was in the last.
I was thinking about that a lot. Like, why she always see him as the bloody figure, and that, and I think it's because that's all she knows about him, is that he was a killer. And most of the pictures probably on the internet or in documentaries are of him looking like that, probably dead or in other images.
Yeah, very fair. That's a great point. Haunted Autumn says, Melissa Barria, I have to say, whatever people want to think, she took something in 5 that could have been entirely unbelievable and made it enjoyable. Can't wait to see what she does in 6. See, I don't love her character in it, and I think that's just kind of how she's being portrayed. But I don't mind that the character's there. I just did, but like I just thought the other characters were a little more intriguing, especially her sister.
I agree with you, because hearing that Billy had a kid could have easily been an eye roll, and I thought 5 handled it really well. And I feel like 6 kind of just keeps continuing on doing it a little bit better. I think 6 did it a little bit better, so
that's fair.
We'll see what happens.
David, what's up, buddy? Scary Snobs talking about Cocaine Bear. That was a couple weeks ago. We have one of those.
That's a slasher, man. That's a slasher. Cocaine Bear.
Oh, good one. What did you think of how they did the museum in Scream 6 without giving anything away? Does it serve a big premise in the film?
Kind of.
I wouldn't say a big premise, no. It's sort of just a point to make sure they get to, and it adds to the element of. But like, I like how Richie went from a guy who's on the message boards to owns everything that ever happened in the stab movies and in the actual murders.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he was an obsessed fan, and we got to kind of see that in this a little bit. I just, again, we're on spoilers. I just wish that when they were counting down, there's a lot of people that are still alive. Like in Scream 3, the actress who was playing Sydney, up until the final reveal, she was supposed to be the second killer. So I'm like, maybe we're counting down to her, or, we got Joel still out there, or maybe somebody from the first film. Like, I thought we were counting down to seeing somebody that we had seen before. I thought that was going to be the big countdown. And then when we got to 1, hey, I'm back. But it ended up being,
we're going to frame
being the worst family ever.
I know. I didn't love it. It was predictable. And turning it around, I was just kind of like, it took me out of it a little bit. Even that post-credit scene, I was kind of annoyed because I was the only one who waited for it. I was like, really?
I laughed. I did. I laughed.
And I'm going to save everybody, just wait.
You can wait.
You don't need to
wait for the post-credit. It is funny, though, but wait.
I get what they're doing, and they're always so tongue-in-cheek and meta about it, so I see what they're making fun of. But, the Marvel movies and things like that. But I was just kind of like, I was like, I didn't need to sit here the entire time for literally a 2-second joke.
Let me ask you, because we didn't really talk about too much. What did you think of the pivot in the opening sequence? I personally, I liked it a lot. I mean, the odds that, 2 different sets of people are going to have this plan. But what did you think of it?
I thought it was done better in 4. When they would keep going through all the different ones in the Scream or in the stab movies and then turn it around. And now it's actually happening to her. She's watching those movies and then she gets killed. I thought that was very tongue-in-cheek to what it was in the original. I did like it, though. And as far as like the opening goes for everyone, that would be a fun one to rank. But I would still put number 1's opening at 1. But 6 is probably 2 or 3. They did a good job.
I think I agree with that. Another thing that I wish we had gotten, like, as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, maybe this killer is mad that somebody stepped in and tried to reboot the original franchise. So he's killing off everybody that came after so he could start with the original cast again or get back to Sydney. I totally expected something to pull, like the post-credit scene. When I heard about the post-credit scene, I'm like, maybe we're gonna see a mailbox that says Prescott and we're gonna hear a phone ring and then it's gonna cut. Like I just kept waiting for something to like get us into 7 because I hoped, and I'm mad that some jackass on Twitter spoiled that there was 3 killers in this movie.
You see, I didn't know there were 3 killers in this movie. I asked you for the spoilers in the beginning, and I looked at something, but I didn't see, because spoilers don't really bother me. I looked at something, but I still didn't know there were 3. So, like, that was a pleasant surprise. But at the same time, I was like, I didn't need those 3. You know, I actually would have preferred if one of the core 4 actually turned out to be one of the killers. I feel like it needs to push. I feel like they did this. They pushed the envelope in the 5th one. Killing off Dewey was a big deal. I think you need to keep that momentum. You need to kill off Gale, kill off Sydney, or kill off one of your core 4. All of which they did not do. So your stakes are not high in this, and so I'm walking out of it. I'm like, it was predictable killers. Out of all of them, it was the most predictable killers. 3, in my opinion, is the least predictable because you're kind of like, what? She has a brother? Like that's a whole different thing. That was just poor writing. So going into this one, I'm like, it was predictable killers. I didn't love their reasoning for doing it. And everyone of the main protagonists died. Or stayed alive, rather, sorry.
Well, with the exception of Dewey in the last movie, they kind of did that with 2. Like they Randy died, and then Wes Craven was too scared in 3 and 4 to kill one of the main 3 because of all the backlash he got for Randy. Like they even tried to come up with a way that Randy was still alive in 3. Like it was actually discussed. And Scream 5, they did it. They broke the formula from 3 and 4, and then in this one, they kind of brought that formula back of, I don't want to mess with one of the main characters. I don't want to piss the fans off.
But you have to, and let's face facts. Like the only reason people were pissed off about Randy dying is because he was their favorite character, which, in my opinion, made it that much more effective, and that's why I'm glad they did. Actually, I wish they never had backtracked and started. Oh, he made a videotape for this. Just let him be done. And now add the niece and nephew characters, which is fine, because I do like they brought back Heather Matazzaro in it and such, who played his sister. I was like, I like that. That's fine. But yeah, I was like, you kind of lost me with the high stakes actually not being high enough. Let's go. Marvel asks, how is Kirby Reed? Has she evolved in her performance ever since Scream 4? Well, she did. She's FBI agent now. She definitely has a much better job. I don't think she's a strong actor, though, so.
I think it's one of Hayden Panettiere's better acting performances in the new Scream movie. I agree. I don't think she's the strongest actress, but she did a great job. I mean, with the material she had, and she was still Kirby at heart. Like there is a conversation where she's talking horror films with one of the other characters, and that's one of my favorite parts of this movie because I agree with almost everything they said. And yes, crush on Corey Feldman all the way.
Oh Jesus, that scene pissed me off so much.
Why?
Because I'm just like, I get it. You're both horror fans. Shut up.
Oh, I loved it.
Just like it was. There was so much horror fan service in this. I'm a horror fan. I love it, but I was like, this is even more than like the original movies. Like, come on, like this is too much.
I love being serviced.
Fair. Did Sidney Prescott's absence make you feel like the story needed her? I felt like Scream 5 ended her character. My favorite shot was when she was standing at the house in Scream. I agree. If she never comes back, I think it works. They even kind of went off, and Gail's like, yeah, once she heard about this, she took her husband, her kids, and is just like going off to hide. She doesn't want any part of it. Like, I don't blame you. Torch has been passed. You don't have to. And I think if you had killed Gail off, the torch can really be passed. And then again, if you want to have the high stakes in 7, kill off Sydney as the first victim.
I think Sydney's coming back because they've made it a point to mention her husband's name. Mark Kincaid was the cop in Scream 3. Yeah. So I highly think they're coming back. I hope that she gets to come back and they can wrap this all up with 6 and then take a break because I would want new creatives to come in if we get more Scream movies down the line. But
I like that stuff.
Yeah, I thought Sydney did not need to be in this movie. Gail didn't need to be in this movie. They both could have sat it out, and the story would have been just as good, I think.
Yeah.
Even though Gail's call was pretty awesome, I did like the call.
Listen, I thought the scene was great, but it ended poorly. She should have died. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, and the fact that you had her go out fighting, and it played really well, and you go out and like she's really messed up. Like, you know, I just thought it would have been better because like now you add the dread factor to these characters. Gail is dead. She's like their only connection that's still around. And you know, I just felt like it would have played off better, but they didn't do it.
I'm kind of wondering if maybe they killed her and then maybe test audiences didn't like it because we don't find out she's alive until like one of the very last lines of the movie.
I know. I don't care, but that's the thing. They do too much for test audiences, and it takes away from your story. It takes away from being innovative storytellers, and that's why, for me, and I say we finish this off with our rankings of the franchise. You up for that?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's start with number one. Scream for me, the first Scream. What's your number one in?
For a long time, it was Scream 4 because I love the opening sequence, but it's 1. I've watched 1 so many times in the last 6 months that one has to be 1. It's just so well done.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else after it until we get to, you know, without 1.
Chris says, getting to the movie Saturday for Scream, first time getting the wife in the theater since COVID. As far as I'm concerned, it's one of the best movies ever. Miss going to the movies with my girl. That's awesome. I would love to hear that. And
I poked fun at Scream 6, but everything I've said that I didn't like was nitpicks for me. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, it's worth going to see. It's a Scream movie, so go see it. I don't think it's the strongest one in my personal opinion. How was using Ghostface in the environment in New York City differ from the previous Scream movies? Was it more horrifying experience? Yes, that's the one thing I'll definitely give it. I do love the small town factor. It needed something a little bit different, bringing it into New York actually and putting it at the backdrop of Halloween. I felt they could have actually probably done it and been a little scarier, but they didn't. So I love that they incorporated different masks. And for good reason. It had a lot of good quality jumps, but overall, the movie is middle of the road for me. So like my second favorite in the series is Scream 5. How about you?
Scream 4.
Okay.
I love Scream 4. I think it would have been a perfect note to end Sydney on. I love Sydney's story in 4. I thought Wes Craven did such a good job, and he says a lot in there about remakes. Obviously, he wasn't happy with the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, and he made this movie to kind of show you why, you know, he's the master. And the opening sequence of 4, I don't think it could be beat other than maybe the first Scream movie.
And that's why, for me, after Scream 5 is Scream 4. I did enjoy Scream 4 and kind of what he was going with on that one, introducing more characters, setting up your characters in such a good way, like Dewey being the deputy or being the sheriff now, and adding the other deputy. They did a fun job, and it was a good send off for Wes Craven, especially in that series. What's your next one?
6, Scream 6.
Okay.
I love this movie, like very, very, very much so.
Yeah, I get it. After that, for me, I would put 6. So I'm going. So far, it's 1, 5, 4, 6. Like I said, it's middle of the road. It's better than 2 or 3 in my opinion, which is the rest of my rankings. It goes, 6, 2, and 3. But it does seem like sort of a combined remake of 2 and 3. So what are your next 3?
My next one is Scream 3. I like Scream 3 a lot because I feel like they did some new things with it. I even like the reveal at the end. It kind of makes sense because if we all suspected that somebody else was involved in Scream 1, I like how they pulled it together. It is annoying because you can obviously tell that they're setting up the second killer throughout the whole movie and we don't get it. But then it would go 3, 2, and 5, which I love all of them. So, but that's
sure.
My ranking.
All right. Well, guys, as you guys know, we ranked 1 out of 5. We'll show it again. I was a 3 out of 5, and Jason gave it a 4.5 out of 5. So, I mean, ultimately, this 3 for me is a middle of the road, go see the movie. It's worth it. If you want to get out and see a fun horror movie this weekend, Scream 6 is worth it. And I will never say that any of the Scream, not watching, you can miss any of the Scream movies. Definitely go and enjoy them. That's what it's all about. But Jason, I want to thank you so much for joining in. Guys, go check out the Scary Snobs. Usually airs on Thursday on our YouTube channel. He and Sir Sturdy do a great job talking horror. Also go check out Three Geeks Podcast. That's Jay's show. And Matt Talk. If you're a Matlock fan, you want to watch the ultimate rewatch show of Matt Talk. So Jason, thank you again so much for joining us today. Guys, appreciate you. Make sure tomorrow morning you're up early, 7 a.m. for the Snob Nation morning show. We will be live 7 to 10 a.m. every Friday morning. Join in for that. Jason, got anything you want to plug or say before we get it going?
No, but I like Bub's ranking with Scary Movie 1 being his third favorite Scream movie. That's fantastic.
I can't argue with that, actually. That's a good one. And guys, remember this Sunday night, the only award show you will need, the Snobby Awards, is at 2 p.m. Eastern, right on the Scene Snobs YouTube channel. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Make sure you check it out. A lot of great shows that are nominated. But yeah, I appreciate you again, Jason, joining us. Appreciate all of you. This is why we do the live, so you can join in and talk about the movies as well. Thank you again for joining in. If you're watching this at a later time, make sure you sound off in the comments. Let us know what you thought about the movie. But until next time, I'm Mick Manhattan from the Scene Snobs. Jay, take it away. Where can we find you?
Find me at Three Geeks Podcast, at Three Geeks J, everywhere.
All right. And that's just check out these messages. Love you. Stay spooky, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care. Hey guys, Mick here. Thanks so much for watching the show and supporting us. We appreciate it. We appreciate you coming back and joining in the comments. But guys, I really want to thank you, our patrons who are out here supporting us, helping us keep the lights on. Really, truly appreciate you. Tim, Paul, Stacy, Matt, Aaron, AJ, George G3, Chris S, Dale, Chris H, Dan, John B, Ron, Jason, and John W. Thank you guys so much for all your support. Guys, we have 3 tiers available right now. As of March 1st, we're adding 2 more tiers for a total of 5 with tons of perks. So go check out patreon.com/thescenesnobs. And join our Snob Nation Discord channel where the moderators are keeping everything going and we're having really fun conversations over there and more. So go check it out. It's free to join and just be part of the Snob Nation. And remember to embrace the absurdity. Hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. We have tons of great shows coming out and more. Our lives are over on Patreon, but you can check out the Snob Nation Morning Drive live show on our YouTube channel Friday, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern, and tons more shows coming up thereafter. We have great shows like the Scene Snobs Podcast, Betting Bros, Math vs. Smash, Real Combat, movie reviews, and tons more. We have fun over there, and we think you will too. If you're looking for great merch, go over to the snobsmerch.com store. Use promo code SNOBS for 10% off of your order. We have tons of shirts, mugs, everything, stickers, all different types of designs. We love it. I think you will too. So go check it out and let us know what you think. Remember to follow us on all social media platforms. We are at The Scene Snobs everywhere. You can also follow Casey at Planos21 on Instagram, at Casey the Madman on TikTok, and at Twitter Night on Twitter. Guys, tons of fun stuff and new things coming out every day, so go check out our content there. Thank you guys again. We are The Scene Snobs. Embrace the absurdity with us, and we love you, and we'll